You're listening to Rabbi Aryeh Wolbe of Torch in Houston, Texas. This is the Jewish Inspiration Podcast.
And now, my dear friends, we continue on the top of page 688 in the Treasure for Life edition of the Orchos Tzaddikim, The Ways of the Righteous. Day number 120. Hasheni, what is the second type of falsehood? HaMeshaker ve'ein beguf hasheker nezek lechaver. So what's about a white lie? A white lie, why do people call it a white lie? Because it's inconsequential. It doesn't bother anybody. For example, if you tell your friend you're telling over a story and then you exaggerate or you give facts that aren't really facts, you include it in your story and it just makes the story more exciting, but it doesn't really change the story. It doesn't change the fact or the basis of it doesn't change the means no one is hurt by it. You're not causing anyone pain. Miskaven lahatos chaver kadei sheyamin bo v'yiftach bo v'lo yishamer mimenu. Why is the person saying this? To curry favor with their friends, or that the person should believe or trust them now, or the person should be off guard, shouldn't hold up their guard against them, because I was able to build build credibility in their eyes, or I was able to build a trust with them. V'oz yuchal zel hadiach olav rose. And then as a result of that, this deception, you can now take advantage of this person. Even if you don't. K'mo shenemar b'piv shalom Yisraelu, yidaber u'bekirbo yosim arbo. As the verse states in Jeremiah, one speaks peaceably to his neighbor with his mouth, but in his heart he lies in ambush. That means now you can make the other person very vulnerable because you built their trust and their guard is down. Va'af be'eini melech basar v'dam nisav hasheker. Also, it is despicable in the eyes of the human king, the king of flesh and blood, also is disgusted by falsehood. As it is written, Toavas malachim asos resha, ritzon malachim sifsei tzedek. The action of wickedness is an abomination of kings. We're talking about falsehood. And righteous lips are the desire of kings. Tell me the truth. If you ever wonder, presidents, kings, leaders have advisors. Now they have advisors. The goal of those advisors are not to be yes men. And the goal of those advisors are not to have their ideologies lined up, per se, with that leader. But rather, they're supposed to sometimes be contrary to that leader. Because you want the truth. You want to know how it's going to be perceived. You want to know how it's going to play out. Everyone has their own perspective. And if you're the advisor to a king or to a ruler or to a president, and you just say, yeah, just like you think, I think the same way as you, just giving a rubber stamp to their feelings, you're not doing good for them. Because they need to have the truth of an opposing perspective. So what is the third type of lie? Hashlishi ameshake bechavero lo ligzol mimeno davar shuhu shalo achu roe tova she'asida lavo lechavero. So he says, what's the third category of lie? It consists of those who lie to their fellow man, not to steal from him what is his, but eyeing their fellow man's prospective good and preying upon it to seize it through falsehood and deceit. So, stealing their business deal, hearing, sometimes people do this. They're like, tell me something new about your business. Tell me something just so that they can get a new client, just so that they can take something away that isn't their client per se, but it's a prospective client that now I'm going to make mine. Right? So I'm not taking something away from them, but I'm just pushing that favor my way. Or they may speak lies. Oh, yidaber shkorim lechavero ad sheyiten lematana. He speaks falsehood to his fellow man until he gives him a gift, as by giving him false reports which elicit gifts from him and the like, presenting false statements about an organization, for example. Someone who's fundraising and they give something which is false, And now someone says, wow, you're doing all of this? I got to support you. I got to give you a donation. But really, those things don't exist. This is a falsehood. This is a terrible thing. As the Talmud states, one who employs deception is akin to an idol worshiper. As the verse states in Genesis, perhaps my father will feel me, and I will appear to him as a deceiver. What does it say about idolatry? Hevel hemo masitatuim. They are vanity, a work of deception. Vilav dafka ki'ilu oved avodah mamash, ela hadimyon al haktsas ki hu nistar b'sheker v'nezer b'shav. So what is it? What's the comparison that we're saying to idolatry? It is not as if he actually served idols. The analogy is similar in that he hides in falsehood and is assisted through deceit. There's trickery. It's hidden. It's not, it's like the Jewish people are committed to something which is really, really phenomenal. Really phenomenal. And I think it's only the Jewish people that have this. And that is truth. What do I mean? In Judaism, we question everything. If you look at the Talmud doesn't have a single line in the Talmud that isn't questioning something. Because if your goal is truth, then you're in the endless pursuit of verification of that truth. As we know, there are other religions that don't allow questions because it's a leap of faith. Or if you ask a question, you're an infidel. You're questioning the faith. We're going to wage jihad against you because you're questioning it. And the questioning of it is a disrespect. That's not the way it is in Judaism. It's not a disrespect. On the contrary, when you're verifying the truth, it's a honor because the truth will stand. We're not worried about it all falling apart because you're pressing for the truth. Oh, stop asking questions. No such thing. You don't see this ever in the Talmud. Ever. We would say, just, you know what? Stop. You cornered me. Leave me alone. Okay, it is what it is because I said so. There's no such thing. No such thing in the entire Talmud. All 2,711 pages of Talmud. Not one time does it say that. On the contrary, the Talmud always goes further and further and further into explaining till you go to the verse in the Torah that you see, okay, here's the proof. Here's the proof. Here's the verification. And that's why we continue asking questions, because we're in a deliberate pursuit of what is the truth. That's what we want. That's it we want. What is the truth? Give me the truth and nothing but the truth. Okay. Haravi, what's the fourth type of falsehood? Hameshaker b'sipur dvarim sheshama, where you relate things that you heard falsely. Umachlif miktsasam umiskaven lahachlif, and you deliberately distort some of them. Ve'ein lo shum revach b'osa sheker, and there's no benefit that comes out of these lies, nor do they damage others. It's similar to what we mentioned before. Pa'amim shu misaper devarim shuhu bo de kulam milibo, or sometimes a person can make everything up. It's all a fictitious story that never happened. There's sometimes that you can meet people, hopefully rare, but there are some people who cannot help themselves. They have to lie. They can't help themselves. You went to the pizza shop, great. And what did you get? It's inconsequential. It doesn't make a difference. They can't say the truth. They can't help themselves. There are people like that. It doesn't damage anybody. It's just they can't help themselves but say something, which is v'yesh la'onesh. Such a person who just lies like that, speaks the untruth. There's a punishment to this. She'ohev sheker below to elis. He who loves falsehood even though it serves no end. And this is what King Solomon of blessed memory said in Proverbs, Yafiach gezavim eid sheker, a false witness spouting lies. Meaning, what does that mean? Perush. Im tira ben adam sheyafiach gezavim bidvarov, yesh l'chol leida shezos hamida tevieu lahoit sheker be'achiv, machmas shu oef sheker. He says, meaning, if you see someone spouting lies like that, just senseless lies, meaningless lies, know that this trait will lead him to testify falsely against his brother as a result of his love of falsehood. He can't help himself. You cannot trust such a person because they will always let you down. Why? They just love falsehood. They love lies. Some people unwillingly distort part of what they hear because they don't pay attention when they are listening. Lachkor alamitusam. They don't investigate and examine the truthfulness of what is being said. Gam zo midoro. This is also not a good trait. Ve'alzeh Amar Shlomo HaMelech, and on this King Solomon said, Olav Hashalom of blessed memory, V'ish omer lenetzach yidaber. But the man who listens shall speak forever. What does that mean? Perush, Misha nosin lev lishma, someone who pays attention. Lahavin tochen ha'inin va'advarim asher yisapru. What does that mean? It means when you hear something, don't just hear it. Be attentive. Understand the essence of what is being said. Clarify. Shelo yimtza befiv lashon sheker. That a person should investigate that he not be lying when he repeats it. Oso ha'ish lanetzach yidaber. Such a person will speak forever. Why? Ki yisavu bnei adam lishmoa devarov v'lo yigaru bo al devarov. Because people will trust such a person because they know that he backs up what he says. And they will rely on his words because they know that what they hear is truthful. And they will not rebuke him for them because they know it's truth. So think of the media. How does someone as a reporter get credibility? Not because they're on the loudest microphone. We see that with outlets that are not reliable, and the people don't have credibility, even though they have a bigger footprint out there in the world. But typically what happens is when someone says something, and you see that they're accurate, and they're correct, and they're diligent in proving their facts once and again and again and again and again. So then you gain trust and you say, okay, such a person, I want to hear what they have to say. And then you have people who just give uncorroborated stories. They give with no sources. They give with unidentified, unverified, and unnamed sources. And that's usually fake and false. And this is something that a person needs to be very, very, very cautious about. It doesn't mean you should listen to people on either side of the aisle. You should just seek out the truth. Investigate the truth. Hachamishi, what is the fifth type of falsehood? Ha'omer l'chaver sheyetiv lo, o sheyitin lo matana. A fifth category consists of those who tell their fellow that they will benefit him. I'll give you something. Or give him a gift, or assist him in some way, not saying so in a manner that reassures him, and while speaking, thinking in their heart not to give. It means, I can't even tell you how many times I've heard this from people who have gotten jobs where the person employing them took advantage of them by saying, you know what, you can make, so this is how much money you can make in our company, and you can go so far in this company, and you know obviously it all depends on what you bring in, but we will, and in their heart they know, in the heart of hearts they know they're never going to give this person that amount. They're never going to reward them with that kind of money. They're never going to give them that bonus. They're never going to give them that. But they're saying it to try to persuade them to take the job with them. About this, our rabbi said, he should not say one thing with his mouth and another with his heart. A person should be very, very cautious not to be a flatterer. What is a flatterer? A flatterer, we think, is someone who will flatter somebody to curry favor. But it is so also if you say something that you don't believe. Echad bepeh, be'echad belev. You're saying one thing with your words, but really something different with your heart. You don't believe what you're saying. And you're not going to follow through with it. Therefore, our sages tell us this is the fifth falsehood that a person needs to stay away from. My dear friends, we're going to continue with this, hopefully either later this week or next week. We'll continue with the continuation of the sixth falsehood, which is on day number 121. My dear friends, have a magnificent day, and thank you so much for joining us today.
You've been listening to Rabbi Aryeh Wolbe on a podcast produced by Torch, the Torah Outreach Resource Center of Houston. Please help sponsor an episode so we can continue to produce more quality Jewish content for our listeners around the globe. Please visit torchweb.org to donate and partner with us on this incredible endeavor.